from the wives of the Brahmanas this morning. They don't get so much time in the Bhagavatam, but when they do, it's important, right? The wives of the performers of the sacrifice said, this is text 33, 4:7:33. My dear Lord, this sacrifice was arranged under the instruction of Brahma, but unfortunately, Lord Shiva, being angry at Daksha, devastated the entire scene. And because of his anger, the animals meant for sacrifice are lying dead. Therefore, the preparations of the yajna have been lost. Now, by the glance of your lotus eyes, the sanctity of this sacrificial arena may be again invoked. Purport. Animals were offered in sacrifice in order to give them renewed life, semicolon. This was the purpose of having animals there. Offering an animal in sacrifice and giving him renewed life was the evidence of the strength of chanting mantras. Unfortunately, when Daksha's sacrifice was devastated by Lord Shiva, some of the animals were killed. Parentheses. One was killed just to replace the head of Daksha. Their bodies are lying about, were lying about, and the sacrificial arena was turned into a crematorium. Thus, the real purpose of the yajna was lost. Paragraph. Lord Vishnu, being the ultimate objective of such sacrificial ceremonies, was requested by the wives of the priests to glance over the yajna arena with his causeless mercy so that the routine work of the yajna might be continued. The purport here is that animals should not be unnecessarily killed. Again, they were used to prove the strength of the mantras and were to have been rejuvenated by the use of the mantras. They should not have been killed as they were by Lord Shiva to replace the head of Daksha with an animal's head. It was pleasing to see an animal sacrificed and rejuvenated, and that pleasing atmosphere had been lost. The wives of the priests requested that the animals be brought back to life by the glance of Lord Vishnu to make a pleasing yajna. And a purport. Some years ago, I don't know if it happened, but there was a big promotion, nationwide promotion, to have a Ashvamedha Yajna in the suburbs of Chicago, nationwide. It wasn't just a local thing. And, Brahmanas, this and that. Poor horse. Often Prabhupada would say, these can't be done in this age because of all the paraphernalia that's needed. It was possible for super wealthy kings, because super wealthy kings had super wealth, and the super wealth was employed to make the yajnas possible. And thus, the 100 horse sacrifice thing that Indra did, and when others got close to it, he got a little nervous, more than a little nervous. He got really nervous. and did very strange things to stop it. Because the performer of the sacrifice, with the verse from Bhagavad Gita, there are different factors that become benefited, including the priest and the person on whose behalf the yajna is being performed. But in this age, there are 5 things prohibited, and one of them is a horse sacrifice, and another is a cow sacrifice. It wasn't for eating the horse or eating a cow. And it was for proving the efficacy, including, no Zippo lighters, starting the fire with mantra, and rejuvenating the life of the animal. Now, the animal in this case, that the head of the animal that was used to put on Daksha's head was a goat. And goats, there are Vedic performances, Kali Puja, where goats are sacrificed under the dark moon night with certain mantras, etc., etc. So there is such a thing as sacrifice of an animal for eating, but it's not the same as what was being done here. And that's the point that Prabhupada is making. There was a purpose, and it was joyful. Now, I haven't seen anywhere a detailed description of how that happened. Apparently, the animal entered into the fire, and then the animal came out of the fire. Something like that. And the young animal came out of the fire. So just like the fire is the tongue of Vishnu, the fire was created by mantra. The animal entered the fire and came out of the fire, by the power of Vishnu. And that's the power of the mantra. I think it's nice. The wives of the priests who were performing the yajna were concerned about the poor animals. Compassion. A nice characteristic of these wives. By Vishnu's presence, the overall message here is to restore auspiciousness, because now the purport says specifically because Shiva demolished everything. But Shiva demolished everything because an offense was made by Daksha. Now, Shiva could have responded differently, but Shiva responded the way that he responded. And including Daksha lost his head. And by Lord Brahma's intervention, Daksha got another head. There's another section where Shiva, after Sati burns herself up in fire, Lord Shiva goes off into the forest, and Lord Brahma comes to pacify him, and he becomes pacified. Brahma is his father. So, there's this who's greater thing that goes on sometimes, and they're all greater. However, most consistently, Shiva, who is the son, is greater than the father, and has something to do with his tattva. And like, for example, in the King Chitraketu narration, Lord Shiva is giving a talk, Harikatha, and in the presence of many great personalities, including Lord Brahma and Narada Muni. So Lord Shiva is a very special person, for sure. So it's the wives of the Yajnik Brahmanas are wishing for auspiciousness to be restored by the all-auspicious personality of Godhead. Besides, the mess of dead bodies lying here and there, dead bodies of animals, and whoever else was also dead bodies lying around here and there. Not just ask him to be a janitor, but ask him to create auspiciousness once again. And specifically, the focus is going on the animals. How well it is understood by people outside of the Vedic culture? Probably not at all. How much is it understood even by people within Vedic culture? Hardly at all. So, a superficial glance is how barbaric. Now, those that say how barbaric, who knows what their habits are? And the barbaric behaviors of people that are, even the modern theists, the barbaric, that's just eating habits, lead to wars. It's clear, it's described, and it's easy to understand. Mass killing leads to mass killing. And the instrument of that mass killing can be this or that. Now, that's not the only cause for wars, but there's other cause for wars. We won't go into war technology right now, but it is a significant cause. Those who are killers become killed, and it's calamitous. And then you can pick sides. And the calamity is forgetfulness of Krishna. And the forgetfulness of Krishna leads to duality, leads to extremes on this side and that side. The solution is God consciousness. The solution isn't move the pendulum of history over this way a little bit, or move the pendulum of history over that way a little bit, and then things will be nice. It may look nice, incrementally better than incrementally worse or extremely worse, but it's no solution because you're still in the field of the material energy. And the field of the material energy is ever shifting. So back to the principle of sacrifice. The principle of sacrifice, we all know because we read Prabhupada's books. The principle of sacrifice is to satisfy Vishnu. Even when it's a Vedic yajna, so Vishnu has come with 8 arms. But the purpose is to satisfy Vishnu. And life is a sacrifice. Life properly rendered, human life properly rendered, is a gesture overall, not only when yagas are done, but all the rest of the time, to satisfy the Supreme Lord. So, auspiciousness is created by the presence of Vishnu. Auspiciousness is created by sacrifice unto Vishnu. But the purpose of that auspiciousness has a transcendental purpose. Not everyone has clarity about transcendental purpose of auspiciousness. Commonly, the benefit of auspiciousness is not transcendental. The benefit of auspiciousness is material prosperity in this life and the next. And even in the course of, just as we discussed yesterday evening, some of you attended, maybe very few. Yesterday evening with the Chinese devotees, we discussed King Nriga. And King Nriga was really, really expert in creating auspiciousness in a specific form. This form in this chapter, Daksha was very expert. Daksha means expert in performing XYZ, so many different yagyas, creating auspiciousness. The purpose of that auspiciousness was material prosperity. Now, Daksha also had an element of devotion, because when he wanted to create good offspring, he performed this procedure, the Hansa-Guhya prayers, and Lord Vishnu came. And Lord Vishnu gave him his blessings. He didn't say, you've got mixed motivations here. He had mixed motivations. He didn't say that. He wasn't... He honored his performance of the Hansa-Guhya prayers and the sacrifices he had undergone, because he Daksha, wanted to produce good praja. And that's what Prajapatis are supposed to be doing. And that becomes possible by the auspiciousness created by Vishnu's being present. So Vishnu is present. Still, they could be mixed in Daksha's case. Lord Vishnu came and Lord Vishnu spoke to him, and still he was mixed. The intention behind what we do is very important. And supposing we have mixed intentions, then what? Well, the process, the bhakti process, is very helpful. It's not a mechanical guarantee, but it's very helpful to cleanse the intentions. And a big part of the cleansing of intentions is hearing. And through hearing, that the intention can be cleansed. And good association, the cleansing of mixed intentions, can be cleansed. It may take a while, but that's the means. And through good association, the benefit is imbibing, taking on. There's a nice statement. Interestingly, there's a statement made by Hiranyakashipu to Prahlad that says this point, just as Bhagavad Gita says. So Hiranyakashipu says, association is like the action of colors on a crystal stone. A crystal stone reflects or emits or reflects the qualities of the colors around it. He uses that example to Prahlad. Not in the 7th canto Bhagavatam, but elsewhere. Association, real association is service. The service starts with hearing, with submission and faith, and then other activities that assist that source of spiritual sound vibration, and then the doors of realization open through the medium of service. I'm going a little bit afield because the purport is really short. But some of you may have read, and you can, those who have read, you can recall. There was a Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. During his time, There wasn't internet and all the other ways of knowing things, but he was a well-known spiritual figure in the world by many people. And one time he was visited by a scholar, and the scholar had some questions. He requested Bhaktisiddhanta some time to respond to his questions. Bhaktisiddhanta said, "I'm occupied right now. You can be a little patient, and I'll address your questions. While you're waiting, would you like a little service?" So he did a little service. Something. Help the pujaris polish the brass or whatever, some little service. And after some time, Bhaktisiddhanta called him and said, "Now I'm ready to respond to your questions." And the man said, my questions are answered in the course of my service. Bhakti Yoga has potency. It has the potency to reconfigure our intentions. It's not mechanical. Realignment is not mechanical, but it has the potency. And deep inside, there is a desire to reconnect with Krishna. The desire manifests in the form of I want happiness. And often people want happiness by karma and gyan. Like this scholar that went to Bhaktisiddhanta, he wanted his gyan faculties nourished. But bhakti, somehow, bhakti can also give knowledge, but then that knowledge is not just nourishment of gyan. It's nourishment of one's regard. It's realigning of intentions. One's regard for the personality of Godhead. There's such potency. And all of us have access to that same potency. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how old you are. It doesn't matter how smart you are. It doesn't matter how wealthy you are. It doesn't matter how influential you are. It doesn't matter. Daksha was, insulting Narada. "Do you know how many yajnas I've done? This one, that one, the other one. And who are you? So-called sannyasi that's depriving my sons of the value of doing this yajna, that yajna, the other yajna, and so many of them. You're depriving them? What kind of renunciate are you? Shame on you." Anyway, insulting. And not, pride. So the wives of the Yajnik Brahmanas, similar to the wives of the Yajnik Brahmanas in Vrindavan with Krishna's pastimes, they somehow were the chanters of the mantras and the performers of the yajna, but they had a nice understanding of what the purpose of yajna is and what auspiciousness is and how to create it and restore it in case it gets off track. And same for our lives. By simple understandings that come from hearing Srimad Bhagavatam and applying the teachings in our own situation of life. Let's see if there's some discussion. Nearly 7:30.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. In third chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Sahayagna Praja Sruštva, the translation is, the Lord of all creatures sent forth the generations of men, demigods, and the yajnas for pleasing Vishnu. So I'm just wondering, see, we in this case, we see
In the case in the Bhagavatam.
yes, there, like say, Daksha is kind of attached to the yajnas, whereas Narad Muni is bringing out the principle of bhakti because
Narada Muni is doing what?
he is giving the importance of to bhakti.
Yes.
So my question is the yajna a part of pure devotional service at all?
Depends on consciousness. Yes, behind you.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. Maharaj, my understanding on devotional service leads to bhakti. And
Wait a minute. Say it again. Devotional service leads to bhakti. Devotional service is a translation of bhakti.
okay, in that case, it's similar, same, right?
Say it again.
So devotional, my understanding was devotional service by serving the Lord, we get the bhakti.
Devotional service means bhakti.
In that case, the
Bhakti
devotion.
means devotional service.
Okay, Maharaj. And can I have a second further question on that, Maharaj?
Yeah.
So, like without understanding of the Lord, to my knowledge, my understanding is called Jnana. Understanding about the Lord is the Jnana. And you mentioned Bhakti gives a different type of Jnana. So,
Bhakti does what?
you mentioned Bhakti gives a different perspective of a Jnana, knowledge.
Bhakti gives a different perspective. Did I say that?
Not perspective, but you said Bhakti gives a Jnana, which is quite different.
Vasudevi Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojataha. You know the verse. Janiyati Ashu Vairagyam. What's the last line? Jnanam Cha. Now that Jnanam Cha is not the same Sanskrit word is used, but it's not the Gyan of the Gyani. Because the Gyan of the Gyani is speculative, and the Gyan of the Bhakti is not speculative.
Okay.
Did that answer your question?
Yes, Maharaj. That is the speculative. Can you elaborate a little more, Maharaj?
Elaborate more. Is Bhagavad Gita a book of knowledge, or Bhagavad Gita is a book of ignorance?
Knowledge.
Okay. And the knowledge that's there in Bhagavad Gita, is it Gyan or is it Bhakti? And the answer is it depends on consciousness. It's actually transcendental, like Jnanam Cha, the Vasudevi Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga. That kind of knowledge that arises from, it's within, is a subset of bhakti. But bhakti, that the knowledge that assists one to be connected to Krishna always, as opposed to sometimes not, or just not. Because the Gyani, we read 2 verses ago, that process of Gyan doesn't lead to transcendence. Speculative process.
Okay. Got it, Maharaj.
Okay?
Yes, thank you, Maharaj.
Okay. In the back.
Krishna Guru Maharaj, I understood that services are needed for purification of intentions, that's you were saying. So there are these general services, but my question is, if we want to, how to identify any specific services?
How to identify what?
specific services apart from the general services?
Specific apart from general.
Yes, Maharaj.
How
And,
to identify.
yeah, because the intentions initially, the specific services could be based on something that I like or something that I'm capable of doing. So, is that a right way to identify specific service or from general services?
Well, that's one option, and there's other options of how to determine, other than general, how to determine specific services. Like, let's say it's going to rain, so you may take an umbrella. It can be circumstantial, and depending, you may not. So don't be careful about putting things in buckets. But what you said is that's certainly fine. You ask the question, ask yourself or ask Krishna, what gifts you have given me that you would like me to offer to you.
Yes.
And then whatever arises, you may want to refine it and wait a bit, but then you take that and offer that to Krishna. And that's specific as opposed to general. Is that all right?
Yes, Maharaj. Thank you.
Guru Maharaj, the discussion with the children in that topic came about this meat eating. Then we were discussing about it, and then I've shared with them that how it is not pleasing to Krishna, and but wherever we are, and from that point we can try to grow. So one of the child might be shared with their parents, and then and he cried in front of them. It seems that how many bad things I was doing. Then
the child said to the parent, or parent said to the child?
The child was because he heard, so he was sharing with his parents, and then the parents got agitated that
you're spoiling our child.
that they have to give up that meat eating and all, because the child was not willing to. So they took him off from the discussion group. Then I was inquiring about it, but they just said that they have enrolled in so many other activities, so they're not finding time to attend. But I came to know from other their friends that this is what it is. But from my side, I was thinking that when this kind of discussions come, so is it okay to share, or I don't know how to go about it, because I really feel the children are really, really enthusiastic in the class, those two children, and my heart really feels for them actually.
The art of teaching. There are probably hundreds of different approaches that can be taken, and there are options, and you're going to have to. Each of us, each teacher, has to select some options from some options. Here's some options. When someone new comes in, you have a sit down with the parents. And say whatever you feel you need to say, and that you may get some understanding what you need to say just from experience like this. And might this be a problem for you? If it might be a problem for you, please be prepared, because when I discuss with inquisitive children, I don't want to speak untruth. Anyway, so rather than listing options and you select from the menu of options, you have to consider. And I guess an option you could say, we don't talk about those things in this class. That could be an option. Or you don't say it, you just steer away from those topics. And then have a private discussion with, but you never know where the landmines are when you start just having a discussion. Here's another one, Lord Shiva. I know directly of two situations where the description of Lord Shiva being the best of Krishna's devotees has caused people just to disappear. They don't mind equating Lord Shiva and Krishna or Vishnu, but they do mind Lord Shiva is Krishna, the best of all Vaishnavadam, and it's very fundamental. In that same verse that says that, it says the Srimad Bhagavatam is the Amala Purana. And children are naturally sensitive. So if they don't hear about, morality and ethics and compassion, then they're going to sail on doing what all the other kids are doing. So then you're going to have to decide for yourself, what approach are you comfortable with? There's certain taboo topics we just don't talk about. We don't talk about Lord Shiva here. We don't talk about the pain that animals suffer. When a new child comes, you could have a printout of the Mrigari story and ask the parents to read it. And ask them, could you give me some feedback on this? How would you like me to handle this topic if this topic comes up in our class? And then you've connected with them on a personal level, and they could say, I'm uncomfortable, I don't want my child to be in this class if a topic like this are going to come up. You can decide. There's some procedures. Some people are a little bold, and here's our policy. You want to enroll your child, here's our policy. We just speak the message of the Bhagavatam, and that may make some people uncomfortable. But we speak the message of the Bhagavatam because it's the topmost of all, and here's the explanation of why we understand that. Or we don't even say, here's the explanation. I recognize there are different understandings of the Vedas out there. And there are different convictions and different personal practices and different kinds of faith. There's a whole chapter in Bhagavad Gita on divisions of faith. The manner in which we conduct our classes is faithful to Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, while respecting that others may not share that. But that's the place that we're speaking from. And please let me know if that's something that you're not comfortable with. Because I don't want you to, whatever. Don't want you to be offended if your kids come back home and hear something that's straight from Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam. You make a connection with the parents with... Anyway, there's options. And you're going to have to decide what one's comfortable for you. Something else? Online?
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. This question is Snehavalli Devdasi. Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. The wives of the priest stated a phrase that because of Lord Shiva's anger, instead of saying due to the offenses committed by Daksha.
Yeah, that's right.
Is there any significance to it? Because how the communication is done is very important. I'm just curious to know.
That's the importance is their perspective. It's not a wrong perspective. They're not going deeper and saying the reason Lord Shiva did what Lord Shiva did was because Daksha did what Daksha did and so forth. So it's not wrong what they said, but they're just expressing a perspective. The main, at least my understanding, it's just a little thing, but they're ladies, and they're very concerned about the bloody mess of dead animals lying here and there, and they want it to be made nice again. And they know that Vishnu can do that, so they're asking him to do that before the yajna resumes. So they're not necessarily going to the cause of the effect, which was then became a cause of something. They're just speaking the shorter version. Lord Shiva's anger made a mess. Can you make it nice again? Anything else? Okay, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.